Hey, Sky here. I'm going to be talking to you today about how to increase your revenue, double your revenue in 1 month, even though you struggle with ADHD symptoms. I have ADHD myself. I was diagnosed at the beginning of my PhD. I now run a multiple six-figure business on the basis that nobody should not be able to reach their potential because of their ADHD symptoms. There's the strategies that we can use, and I'm going to break them all down for you today. So come along with me. Okay, let's jump into it. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about, I'll make myself a little bit smaller here, is what levels of business do we tend to struggle with ADHD? Now, surprise, surprise, we kind of struggle with all the different levels, but there's particular issues that we have at different stages. So the first one, 0 to 10K, this is where we need to find ourselves a specific goal. We need to get a bullseye on what we're actually doing. We tend to find ourselves floating around, and that can make it really, really difficult. The next one is focus. We can find ourselves in a position where we are struggling to focus. Between that 10K and 30K, we have a little bit of money, but there's a lot of things that are going on. A lot of opportunities kind of come our way at this point, and so we don't know which of those opportunities to focus on and build out our 80-20, and that can be a real struggle for us here. Then once we get to 30K, okay, cool. Now this is the business. This is what we're doing. We want to grow it. And this is where we often find ourselves learning that the skills that have gotten us to this 0 to 30K space, they're not going to get us to 30K to 1 million plus. If you think about the bottom here, these skills of kind of going, I know how to use a planner, I know how to, organize my calendar kind of on a good day, but I don't have a view of the entire business. I can't see it. It feels like I'm driving down a road really fast with no headlights on. It's very, very scary. And so this is the piece that you need to kind of get to that point to help you grow. You need to look at how to add in components of other people, how to lead them, how to delegate them, and how to do that all in an ADHD friendly way. Because if you struggle with ADHD or ADHD symptoms, you will know that the just go ahead and write down exactly what you've done, just delegate it that way, just ABC, was as unhelpful as back in the day when somebody told you to just get a planner. It's the same thing, it's just pitched up for that level of business growth. So that's the struggle that we have at this point. And then between that 100K and that 1 million plus space, we're struggling with consistency. It's okay, I've got a system that's working, but I need to build out a dashboard, I need to build out a cadence, I need to build out a leadership loop so that my team is working consistently in cycles and that I am happy with those cycles and I'm not throwing a spanner in the works with my dopamine, systems, which can often be the case as well. And I've worked with business owners at all of these different levels and helped them to focus and to grow their revenue at all of these different levels. And I can tell you that these are the things that are really big struggles. And sometimes I will find myself working with business owners who are in the million space who are still struggling with focus. And often what's happening is that they're crashing out pretty consistently, which is what we want to try and avoid. So let's go through and talk a little bit about exactly how to do this. Let's give you the playbook on this. And if you're, listening to this and you're thinking, this is cool, I want to work with you, you can go ahead, you can click in the link below, just message me on Instagram, you can message me grow, and that'll be our little word so that if you message me that, I'll know that you have watched this and that you're at that space, and I will send you links to how to work with me. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump into what is the model? Like, how do we actually hit all of these different levels over here consistently to be able to get to that, 100K, 1 million space with ADHD? Well, the first thing that we want to do is we want to go, okay, what are we trying to aim for? And this is what I teach. I teach a program called Focus Balanced Growth. And the purpose of this is to get you to a place where you are balanced. So you're not having really amazing days followed by really terrible weeks and nothing is really happening in a consistent way and your family is going, okay, cool, you're working well, but at what cost? This isn't sustainable. You're focused, you know what you're trying to do. You're not getting sidetracked by every new idea, every shiny object, and you're growing. We want you to go to these spaces of, okay, I'm hitting 10K now, I'm hitting 30K now, I'm at 100 now, I'm at 1,000,000. Like, that's what we want for you to do. So everything that I teach is with that assumption that you are going to get focused, balanced growth if you use the systems, if you use the strategies. These are strategies and systems that I've taught in some cases for over 5 years now. They're all backed up by research, and I've worked with them with a lot of people. In fact, let me jump in here and I'll show you some of the people that I've worked with on these spaces before. So the first one you can see here is James, awesome guy. We worked with him on, he had a book coming out, very successful coach, but he just needed a little bit of support with his ADHD in terms of focusing, in terms of getting a sense of how he was going to work on some of those tasks that were particularly boring. And we all have those tasks. So I helped unblock that, get him focused, and now he's on his way. He's got his book out, and it's pretty awesome. Jennifer is a salon owner, and for her, it was really about understanding what to focus on, getting that initial focus. And she's very, very successful, and so a very great example of somebody who is at that space where kind of in that $1 million mark, but you're still struggling with that focus, that initial focus. So we worked on that with her, which was awesome. And then with Kendall, she also had a book coming out, and for her, it was really about growing that revenue. And we wanted to go ahead and say, okay, how are we going to get to a place where your revenue is more consistent? How are we going to build that sales pipeline? And that's what I was able to do with her using the model that I'm going to teach you in a minute. And then Chelsea is super cool. I've worked with Chelsea for such a long time at this point. And she is a gravel racer. So she's been racing bikes. She wanted to race across Europe. She needed the sponsorships. And so we were able to add in that piece of pipeline that she needed, help her focus, kind of take her through the whole thing, focus, grow, and ultimately get to the place where she was able to go to Europe using those sponsorships and travel and bike there, which was amazing. Okay, so let's jump in here and talk a little bit more about focus, balance, growth then. So what are the biggest struggles that people with ADHD who are running a business have? Generally speaking, people come to me because they are feeling super overwhelmed. They're in a place where they're going, okay, I just really, I don't know what to do. I start my day and it's this massive struggle. I feel like everything is, on fire all the time. I hear this a lot from people. Everything is on fire. I'm always needed. I'm dealing with emails. I don't even want to look at my emails. That is where people are at. They're in that very, very, very overwhelmed space. The other reason people will come to me is because they don't have enough time. They'll say, okay, I'm doing the thing, but I'm exhausted. I'm working, 100 hours a week. I have family who are starting to look at me and go, hey, remember when you said this would get easier when you had money? Well, now you have money and it's not getting easier. So they're really struggling. They don't have enough time. They don't know how to leverage it. They don't have the ADHD strategies to do so. And then, and I actually just talked to somebody right before this call about this, inconsistent revenue. Somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I have inconsistent revenue. I have revenue and that's great, but it's not getting me to that 100K, 1 million mark that I'm trying to get to. It's inconsistent. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad, generally based on me and my ability to just kind of keep churning those wheels and keep spinning those wheels. And that is exhausting. So we don't want to do that. That is absolutely what we want to avoid. But these are the three main reasons that people will come to me. So maybe have a look and see what you might be in this context. So what do we do? What are we focusing on? And then we'll talk about exactly how we'll do it. We'll break it down. So the first thing we want to do is say, okay, if you're feeling overwhelmed, let's help you get focused. We want you to wake up in the morning and know exactly what you need to do, the steps you need to get there, and just go for it on those most important things. That kind of focus is a game changer, not just if you have ADHD, honestly, for everybody. Although I will say, if you're wondering if you're a business owner, whether you have ADHD, chances are you do. It's a very, very correlated thing that you can have. So being focused, super, super important. Then not enough time. So let's get your time back. Let's use the systems, let's build the strategies to get your time back without taking more of your time. A lot of people really, really resist getting their time back because they think to themselves, oh, but then I'm going to do this, and then it's going to take more of my time. Hiring somebody, training somebody, delegating to somebody, it just feels like a waste of time. I'm just going to do it myself. If that's you, we talk about systems to make sure that you know exactly what you need to do to avoid that here. Then we talk about scalable, predictable revenue. That's pretty cool. That's what we want. Scalable, predictable revenue. What are we doing to make sure that your revenue is not just growing, it's growing predictably, it's scaling, as it needs to on the up and up. And so you can just sit back, you can relax, you can do something else with your energy, and you can kind of see that focus, balance, growth go forward as you do. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. So let's talk about how to get focused. So the first thing we need to do when we're getting focused is we need to go ahead and identify your 80-20 tasks. This is really important. We need to understand what your goal is. If you don't have a goal, you're unlikely to hit it. For a lot of you guys, that goal, it might be, a lot of times when we focus on the first thing we do in the program, we'll have people come in for the 30-day challenge and they'll say, I want to double my revenue in the first 30 days. And that's exactly what we do. That's their goal. But in order to reach that goal, we need to know about your 80-20. What is the 20% thing in your business that's going to give you the 80% return? Usually we need to look at what you've done in the past, all those kinds of things to figure out how we're going to grow you and how we're going to sort of propel you forward. Because if you just answer emails, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not your 80-20 task. It might feel like your 80-20 task because it's taking 80% of your time, but it's only going to give you 20% of your output. So we need to identify the things that are going to propel you, the things that are going to give you leverage. Number one, first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to filter your priorities in 10 minutes. This is something that I love to teach. I've taught this for 4 years. I've taught this with so many different people. But basically what we want to do is we want to say, okay, how do we help you very, very quickly understand what is truly urgent today? What is truly important? What is that needle mover 80-20 task? And help you find time in your day to do it. So we give you a little bit of finding time here actually as well. Filtering priorities in 10 minutes, absolute game changer. I use it every day. People who use it swear by it. I had one client who worked for the BBC actually and was building out his own business on top of that. He learned it once, still used it 6 months later. Very, very powerful framework. Then we want to talk about how to make quick, confident decisions. If you have ADHD, chances are you struggle with decision making. This is something that doesn't come up a lot on socials, but if you look at the research, which is what we do, you will find that this is a big struggle that you have. One of the reasons for this struggle is because we can be a little bit perfectionistic. We can have working memory problems, which means we sort of solve something and then we forget about it and we can ruminate on it. And so we need a system that's going to help you make quick, confident decisions as you go through your day because you have a ton of decisions to make as a business owner. That's just the facts. You have a lot of decisions, and if you're going to keep going, this is a priority, this is what I need to do, you need to know and have a system that you can trust and hold on to that's going to allow decision making to be fast, to be simple, to be easy, and to be out of your brain, which is what we want. And actually, when I think about somebody who really benefited from this process, it reminds me a lot of one of my clients. Let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here we go. So Lisa, closing high value deals with ADHD. She came on the podcast. Super, super great to have her. I had her as a client for quite a while actually. And she was able to really focus. So if you go back into this model here, you can see for her, it was identifying what is her goal. She worked as a sales director at Google, which is essentially quite an entrepreneurial job. You're closing a lot of, multi-million-dollar deals. And how do you, in that craziness and everything that's going on, identify your 80-20 tasks, filter your priorities, and make those quick decisions in such a way that you're able to grow and go, but also, again, that balance, have time for your family. She has 3 children, wanted to be able to spend more time with them as well. And so that was what we worked on with her and got her to the point where she was able to very, very confidently say that. And she talked about it on the podcast, actually. Okay, so now we're focused. Cool. Let's get our time back. because we probably are going to need some at this point, because chances are you're making money right now and you're going, okay, I need some time so I can figure out how to focus and do more of the things that are going to make me more money. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to remove resistance to you completing your toughest tasks. One of the biggest things that can actually stop you from getting your time back is you. You resist your tasks because they're boring, because they're confusing, because you might get rejected. There's a lot of rejection sensitivity in business. Very, very common that you're going to have this experience. So if this is you really want to go ahead and you want to make sure that you're able to do that. And luckily, I have a system that I've been teaching for 3 years. It takes you through from no way, no how, I absolutely don't want to do it, to actually doing the task in about 15 to 20 minutes. And it actually goes through and breaks down that space of it's too boring, it's too confusing, and it's too emotionally vulnerable. So we break that down for you first thing. Then we want to build a business that you can see. Because one of the things that can really happen is that you can struggle to see what is happening in your business, especially at this point as it is growing. You can find yourself in a position where you're like, I think I make sales mostly through referrals, but I also do this and acquisition, and I did have a partner. I don't know what happened to them. And then I have lead flow and an email, and oh gosh, how is this all fitting together? And it's quite boring to figure out how this fits together. This is about the time where you'll get told by a lot of neurotypical business support that it's time to build an SOP, and you'll be like, oh, please, anything but that, because what they mean is you have to write a really boring long document. We have a visual framework that we teach you that makes it very easy, very fun. We actually use Miro, which is what I'm using today to talk to you. And we help you build a business that you can see and build a business that you can see without having to do it all yourself. Which leads me to the next thing we need to do to get your time back, which is give away your most frustrating task in 10 minutes. At this point, you'll probably be in that space where you want to hand off some tasks to other people. Surprisingly often, I work with business owners who are making millions who do not have an EA. Always shocks me. Very, very helpful to have one. But the reason they don't have one is it's hard to hire one. It's hard to find one. It's hard to delegate to one. We have playbooks for all of this stuff. We teach you how to find one without wasting hardly any of your time, how to delegate to them, again, without having to do the tasks. I don't know about you, but the second I think about doing a task that I've thought about, giving away to somebody, I'm like, oh, I'd rather do anything than do that task again. I don't want to record it. I don't want to do it. We show you how to set that up, and then how to get into the habit of doing this all the time. And this is something that I find really, really works. I've had a couple of people now who I've helped find their first, assistant, and they've been able to just release, get their time back, but do it in an ADHD friendly way and hire somebody who really understood them and they've had a really amazing bond with, and they've been able to do amazing things, which has been very, very cool. In fact, one of the people that I worked with on this idea of getting their time back was Katie Ford. So she's an Australian playwright. She talked about the challenges of being a writer, particularly the focus part of being a writer. So she was able to use the system to work through that idea of writing is boring, writing is confusing, I don't want to do it, which happens to all of us, and she talks about it on the podcast. And what she was able to do post that was actually, I think it was $75,000 in grants. It was maybe $200,000 in grants at this point. She was able to focus on what she was doing, and the returns were enormous, absolutely enormous. And a lot of people don't realize just how big those returns can be once you get started. I had somebody I spoke to today who was able to double her previous monthly revenue in 2 weeks working on these kinds of systems. So it's amazing what you can do once you have the systems that work for your brain. And that's the crucial piece. This is different from what you might find in other business circles, because they have strategies and they're awesome and we love them, but they're not built specifically for your brain. This is, and that makes a big difference. Okay, so at this point, you're focused, you've got your time back. Let's go into scalable, predictable revenue. That's what we want, right? Now we're making money. We want to make the money predictable and scalable. So the first thing we need to do is we actually need to look at your energy flow. This is an interesting one. The number one thing that I see with people once they start to make money is they mess it up. they put a fire in their own business because they're used to their business being the source of dopamine for them. And so a lot of times what I need to help people with is actually understand where you're getting your energy from, where you're getting your dopamine from, when you're in those highs during the week, when you're in those lows, and look at how to add dopamine in at exactly the right point so that we bring everything down a little bit and you're still you're still going up and down, but it's not massive highs, massive lows, and that little temptation that says, maybe we should run a conference in a month's time. What do you guys think? And everyone's like, why not? Everything's going well. And next thing you know, everything's on fire. So this is where we want to go ahead and get that consistent energy flow in for you. The next thing we want to do is build a growth matrix. Again, a lot of times people don't have their systems. They might have their accounts, they might have, their end of year payables, all that kind of thing. But do you really know, if you're looking at your business, where, how many leads you had, what is your MRR, what was it last month, what is your system of opens? What is your system of acquiring customers? Like, how many customers did you acquire? How many people clicked on the link? These are the kinds of things you want to go ahead and build out in a growth matrix. And, I'm not a huge math person. You might have heard me talk about dyscalculia before. So we keep it simple, we make it easy, but we make it really effective because we don't want you to go away and build the dashboard that has nothing to do with anything and it's not very helpful for you. We want you to build something that you're going to be able to use and use consistently. And actually that leads me to the next piece that we teach, which is the leadership loop. Because you shouldn't really be doing all of this at this point. You want the other people in your team to be empowered to do it for you. It's not just about you giving them tasks that they hate. They are here because they want to support you, they want to support the business. But sometimes as the business owner, we can really struggle with being a boss, especially a boss who struggles with ADHD. So we want a leadership loop that is doable for you. It's not going to overwhelm you. It focuses on empowering the people in your team with, short projects that they can do that are going to help them, and accountability that makes sure that the growth matrix is there. It's being used. It's being, decisions are being made based on it, but it's not all up to you in the middle of the night filling out an Excel spreadsheet. That is not what we do, and that is not what we want to do. We want to make it simple, not on your plate, easy to use. And that's the program. So this is basically how we do it. Focus, balanced growth. Like I said, we've done it with so many people before, over so many years, 4 or 5 years now. It's all based on research, and that is kind of how it works. So if you want to kind of go through this, feel free. If you have a look and you think to yourself, this is really cool, I want to work on this, you just go ahead and message me growth. I think that's what we said. And I will go ahead and I will DM you on Instagram, and I will share you a link to a program with me. This is in our Focus Balanced Growth program. There's no funnel, there's no sales calls unless you want one. We just go ahead and give you the information about the program so that you can decide for yourself. If it's not for you, no worries at all. It's been great to have you here. I hope you learned something. Or if it is for you, then we'll talk about next steps and help you get set up so that you can have focused, balanced growth. Okay, see you later, guys. Thanks so much.